Hey, hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Deepak Shukla. I'll be your host today. And just doing a quick audio check. A very good afternoon to all of you. Can you just confirm in the questions window if you guys can hear me? Hi, guys. Can you hear me well? Is the audio clear? Can we just quickly check that? You can type in the questions window your responses if you can hear me well. Just want to make sure that all of us are connected with the right audio. Hey, can you guys hear me? Great, great. Okay. Thank you guys for the confirmation. Um, yes, Siddhant, unfortunately, yeah, the audio is muted for all of you. I guess that was part of the setup, but what we'll do is to facilitate a very intuitive interaction with all of you guys. You can just type in the questions in the question window, and I'll be more than happy to answer it, right? So assuming that all of you are good with the audio, let's start. Right. So again, my name is Deepak Shukla. I am the program lead for Cloud and Devops at Great Learning. I look after all of the learning programs that we have in Cloud and DevOps categories, and I am also responsible for the learning outcomes, the process that's part of all of the programs that we offer in these two categories, right? And I am also one of the mentors for these programs, and should you choose to join us in your learning journey, we'll be interacting very closely for one of the courses. So with that, let's talk about this exciting opportunities of cloud as well as DevOps, right? Now, in my view, DevOps comes very close to what cloud is trying to do as far as technology is concerned, but we will take it step by step. I'm sure all of you come from a different, experience background, from a different set of perspectives that you have due to your working experience and the projects that you might have worked. So we'll take a step at a time and try to decode what these two interesting terms mean, right? Cloud as well as DevOps. So if you look at the market, right now, the first slide is usually the name of the session or the presentation, but I did not want to waste any more time in having an extra slide for all of us here. So in fact, the first slide that I have for you is what's the market telling us? What is the market like for cloud? Right, so we'll discuss cloud first, then we can gradually move to DevOps. And at any point of time, if you have any questions, just type those in the questions window. So cloud is a huge opportunity, right? The industry, the academia has been talking about cloud computing since almost a decade now. And if you are part of the industry now and have been in the last couple of years, you would have understood there are a few terms that everybody is fascinated about and everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon of either big data or machine learning and artificial intelligence. or cloud computing or DevOps, right? Now, depending upon your interest area, many people wonder about, hey, what would be the next jump or next domain to upskill themselves in, right? So as far as cloud computing is concerned, it's picked up rapidly, as we will see in due slides, right? In the next couple of slides, almost everybody is using cloud computing today, right from that one person in your neighborhood, in the office, whether trying to have a virtual machine for their own personal projects, to companies like Google, Microsoft Azure, NASA, US government, government of India, right, Zoho, etc., Airbnb, Ola, and Uber. All of these are examples of companies which are leveraging power of cloud computing. Right now, if pretty much you are part of this webinar, it's very likely that this webinar is also being routed and hosted in terms of storage bandwidth, as part of a cloud setup. Right, so that's how powerful the computing paradigm has been as far as cloud is concerned. Now, what's the market size like? Whenever you look at a new opportunity, you should, we always work backwards from, hey, are there enough jobs in this particular area, right? What you're saying is great. It sounds fantastic, but do we have jobs? Well, I have a good answer for you, and it's all positive news, as far as cloud jobs are concerned. So the market size, the estimated market size by Forbes by next year, 2019 has begun. So by next year, it's over $400 billion. Of course, it's a global market size, not just India, but $400 billion globally is a huge number, right? So you can rest assured that the market is out there. How many workloads are running on cloud? How many enterprise workloads are running on cloud by next year? 83%. Can you believe that? Almost all enterprise workloads, more than 80% of them will go to cloud in some or the other fashion. I'm not saying all of them will move to cloud completely, right? We understand workloads have multiple components. So 83% of enterprise workloads are about to shift to cloud in some or the other format. Now, how to do that? It's a different question. How many companies are using cloud, and what kind of cloud strategy are they doing? Right, we are saying 81% of the companies have a multi-cloud strategy, not just one cloud platform. So gone are the days when you would think about just, hey, let's go to AWS, or let's go to Azure, or maybe Oracle Cloud, and let's do something, right? Let's do a POC, proof of concept project. But we're talking about production environments, right? 81% of the companies, the majority of the market, is having a multi-cloud strategy. That's talking about more than one cloud platform, right? And if you talk about India specifically, right, it's over $4 billion of market investments, and the money coming in as far as cloud services are concerned. And this is just purely cloud. It also impacts a lot of other tangential developments like containers, microservices, right, edge computing for IoT devices, and so on. So clearly the future, and the present as well, looks pretty solid for cloud, and you should certainly be excited as a professional, if you're looking up to this opportunity. Now, why are companies attracted heavily towards this idea of cloud at all, right? If you have observed technology evolution over the last 1.5 decades or 2 decades, so let's say from the start of this particular century, we all know the dot-com revolution. That's a pretty old story. We all know the hardware revolution that happened in the first 10 years of this century, when, if you remember, we all had a very old, heavy cellular phone, right? We all had a very heavy computing system, which was largely assembled. We all had heavy hard drives. All of that has today transformed into small chips, and fancy hardware as far as laptops, tablets, cell phones, microprocessors are concerned. So computing has come a long way, of course, as per Moore's law. And you have now fancy configurations, not just as far as servers are concerned, but even your home computing systems. We're talking about a cell phone which has 8 GB of RAM. Now go back 20 years, and when we talk about 8 GB, you didn't even have a hard drive, right? So we've come a long way, and computing has become commoditized, right? Now the idea of cloud computing is not new. It's pretty old. Okay, it's about 60 years old now. The thought of cloud computing, right? But the technology is obviously as recent as the last 12 years, 12 to 14 years. And the first production-ready cloud service, at least as far as the public perception is concerned, was S3 as a storage service, right, from Amazon AWS. That was in 2004. So that was 15 years back. So the idea of cloud is old, and the idea started from having IT not as a huge business blocker or as a barrier to innovation or getting work done, but having IT as a utility, right? If you think about electricity, you simply plug in your devices and you kind of start consuming it. And the same thought people wanted for computing, right? So companies have evolved. They are spending very less time in trying to fight with their own servers, grapple with server configurations, issues, admin teams, right? ITL processes and all of that. They want to get rid of that, right? If you're a bank, you don't want this. You want a data center, yes. You want a private cloud, probably yes, but you don't want to get into all of the hassles of doing that. You want to trust somebody else. You're a small business or a budding startup, you don't want to get into a huge DC management or a cloud infra management. That is why companies are trusting cloud to boost their business morale, their profits, their numbers, scalability, and all of those kind of characteristics and metrics. Because guess what? At the end of the day, as a customer, I don't care how many computers or servers or mobile phone applications does Uber service or have. All I want is a ride at the right time, at the right place for the right money, right? So customers are bothered about the service, not how you deliver it. And technology is something that helps you as a business, but wouldn't necessarily be a worrisome factor for the customer, right? So that's what cloud is enabling people to do, and hence they are excited and attracted to it at the same time. A couple of examples here of companies which are kind of the household names, at least in the technology ecosystem. I'm sure most of you will know Airbnb. I'm sure most of you will know Slack as a messaging platform. And all the other companies that you see are examples of enterprises, startups, which have thrived on cloud, which were literally born on cloud, right? So if Airbnb, a global company for, of course, hospitality and accommodation, if they're trusting people like AWS or Azure, right, for their technology needs, it's clearly a strong sign, right? So cloud allows you to focus only on your business proposition while you can offload your technology hassles to a maximum extent to major cloud providers. A couple of statistics here to convince you further as far as numbers are concerned. This is a slightly older deck, but another research as far as the size of cloud specific spend is concerned. I know we just discussed about a number which was over $400 billion. The other statistic is saying over $160 billion, right? So clearly there's a huge market out there, and if I may draw your attention to the middle row here, you would see two major players, AWS market penetration and Azure market penetration, to be the top two, right? So even today, AWS and Azure are the top two players as far as cloud is concerned. Yes, Google is catching up, but it's a distant third, right? And if you look at the top right corner here, 85% of the companies, again, are using multi-cloud. So again, it's over 80%, okay? So the question of using cloud is far gone. Now people are figuring out how to best leverage cloud services for themselves. Like I said, this is happening in India as well, and this is a graphic trend for you to kind of see the projection from the last 4 years to until the next year. So it's a solid, straight, linear graph, and it shows that the years to come are largely positive. Again, according to RightScale, this is just last year. So public cloud adoption continues to climb. And of course, public cloud, like I said, there are three major players at the top, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. And that is likely to remain so at least in the next 2 to 3 years, right? So if you are an aspiring cloud professional, you should pretty much aiming to learn definitely AWS because of its market share, number of job opportunities, also the maturity of the platform and so on, and absolutely either both Azure or Google, or at least one of them, right? Basis your project requirements or your personal interests, right? And that's also the philosophy that we follow in our program that we offer. Again, who is using cloud? The answer is almost everybody, right? So just another, statistic for you from Right Scales report, and without going into the details of public, private, or hybrid, I just wanted to get you this feeling of who is using cloud and to what extent, right? So the answer is again literally everybody. A very interesting graph here. So the legend that you see here, right? So the green color represents the old style data centers, right? Data centers which are called traditional, essentially, which do not leverage the power of virtualization, right? So that number is larger in India, and if you see from 2013 to 2016, this is slightly old. So the green color will keep reducing because the blues that you see here are part of the cloud ecosystem. So traditional data centers are being changed into cloud based data centers or virtualization based data centers to automate as much as possible, to orchestrate things automatically as far as possible, and to minimize manual intervention as far as DevOps or resource provisioning or any of that things are concerned. Oh, right, and this because the number is larger in India. India has a lot of scope again to move from traditional DCs to cloud-based DCs. Again, the adoption trend is quite positive, and again, without going into the numbers here, if you see the trend, it's either consistent or going up, slightly. So, as far as cloud computing is concerned, all of these numbers and graphs and projections, should definitely convince you as cloud being the one of the biggest opportunities. Now, let me take a pause here and see if you have any immediate questions before we move to the next topic, to the next item of discussion. I hope all of you were able to hear me, and if you have any immediate questions, I'm happy to answer. Okay, so I do not see any questions. So in that case, should we just move ahead? How about all of you? Okay, so Nilesh has a question. Okay, Nilesh, that's a very broad question. What is requirement for cloud? Can you elaborate on this? What do you mean by requirement? Okay, good. So Nilesh, it's not related to a specific background. So developers, infrastructure people, network operations guys, Linux admins, system admins, DBAs, right? Senior people in the QA and testing teams. All of these backgrounds are relevant to cloud computing because cloud is impacting all of these profiles, right? Whether we like it or not. Even people who are doing analytics and machine learning, they should definitely understand what cloud is, and of course they need to understand it to a different extent and degree of depth. But it's quite a broad spectrum, right? So yeah, all these backgrounds are relevant for cloud computing. If there's any specific background, if you want to discuss, I'm happy to do that. Nilesh, does that help you with your question? Okay, cool. Great. Anybody else with a question? Sure, Nilesh, no problem. Yeah. Okay, so since I do not see any questions here, let's move on and carry on the discussion. Uh, so, like I was saying, right, cloud is not just about infrastructure, and there's a very common myth, right? So, a very common myth and misunderstanding is cloud is just about a bunch of VMs, and I will, and I'll probably access it remotely, or it's just about storage where I put my files on a remote server. Well, yes, both of those are examples of cloud services, but there are a million things that you do on cloud computing, right? So cloud is essentially changing the way that you do IT, and it can range from just creating a virtual machine on somebody else's infrastructure, whether it is AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, to doing heavy analytics and setting up a city-wide IoT infrastructure, right, globally. Right? So it can vary for a million reasons. And cloud evolution is also helping other things change as far as technology is concerned. So if you talk about containers and microservices, um, the reason you can have thousands and millions of containers being deployed by a company like Google every day, right, is because you can automate a lot of the stuff. It can scale up quickly. You can kill a lot of containers quickly, which means you can scale down either vertically or horizontally, right? So cloud is enabling all of these kind of tangential innovations and containers and microservices, especially if you are a DevOps or a SysOps or a developer. You should definitely know containers and microservices, right? So that's an example of a cloud, inspired innovation. Again, things like new methods of software delivery, API-based development, things like in elastic analytical databases. We are no more talking about just a database or data store. We are not even talking about a data warehouse or an archive. We are now talking about data lakes, right? Again, there are multiple things in that scenario as well. You have RDBMS database, and you have NoSQL databases, you have new SQL databases, right? So there's a lot of innovation happening, and cloud is fostering a lot of that, right? So I just wanted to share this insight so that we break that common misconception that cloud is just about a bunch of VMs or a remote storage, right? It's far, far more than that. So naturally, because of all the market demand that you saw, because of all the growth projections and growth rate that you saw, companies desperately want highly skilled cloud professionals. Of course, the numbers are in US dollars here, because we all understand it's a global currency in the first place. But cloud professionals, if you just do a LinkedIn job search, you will understand how many cloud jobs are available in the market. So you are in high demand if you are a qualified cloud professional. But there's a severe shortage of that. And that's the exact problem that we are trying to solve with our programs, right? Which we'll discuss in a bit. Again, like I said, there's much more to cloud than just infrastructure, right? There are things like microservices, Docker, development and platform as a service, things like OpenStack for private cloud setups, things like DevOps for the entire dev to delivery pipeline. There's big data for both infrastructure and analytics. So there's a world out there for you to learn as far as cloud is concerned, and I think certainly people should be excited about it. So what are the top skills that people like in a cloud professional? That you have some solid understanding of databases and big data on the cloud, that you understand cloud migration, especially for a country like India. Our IT services sector is mostly service based. And we all know if our customers would like to migrate to cloud, there's little we can do except for that migration, and hopefully do it really well. So there will be a lot of migration projects, I'm sure, in most of the companies, quite potentially in all of your companies. And enterprise cloud migration is something that people are really looking forward to from a professional. Containers absolutely must. DevOps on the cloud is something you should know. Even if you're not a DevOps practitioner, even if you're not a developer or a SysOps guy, if you want to become a cloud architect, you should have a basic, strong understanding of what DevOps actually means and how is it done, right? So that when you talk to your team tomorrow or when you have conversations with your customers tomorrow, you sound right meaningful, and then you can gain the respect of the team, right? That you understand what DevOps and cloud actually mean, right? These things might look small, but they're quite important. And at the end, you should also understand as an architect, how do you manage governance, compliance, security, right? No matter what cloud platform you are, either it could be a proprietary cloud platform, it could be a private cloud or a public cloud like AWS. Now, I want to draw your attention to something else as well, right? If you kind of look your LinkedIn feeds, I'm pretty sure many of you have seen so many AWS Architect certification updates, that most of you will know what certifications exist, how many people are kind of getting certified every week or month on a continuous basis. But there's a serious problem out there as well, right? And this slide essentially is to convey our sentiments and the industry sentiment in general, that how should you be learning, right? As far as technical skills are concerned, it's a very old style. It's a classic style of learning that you must practice what you learn, right? Unless you can implement things, unless I can implement things, my knowledge really doesn't matter as far as technology is concerned. So you should learn by doing, because guess what? As an experienced professional, even the same expectation is there from freshers, that from day one you start contributing to your job. So certifications, by the way, are great. But our argument there is you should apply for certification, get certified only after you get hands-on expertise, right? Merely getting a certification will only help you as much as getting you through the filter on LinkedIn when people look for certified folks. But once you're in the interview room, guess what? Your experience takes over, right? Once you are in the interview room, once the conversation starts, people will ask you to build stuff for them, right? That does not come from certification. That comes from experience. That comes from failing to do things multiple times and then finally building a workable solution, right? So you have to solve problems, you have to build solutions, you have to understand how end-to-end solution building works, because it is multidisciplinary. It's not just about storage, network, or compute. It's also about databases. It's also about monitoring, logging, alerts, caching, all of that. So certifications will tell you specific set of things about a platform. It's great to have, but we strongly endorse that you go for a certification after you've got some exposure and experience as far as solution building is concerned, right? Because in the interview, when people ask for solution building questions, we all know in practice things don't work, the way they are supposed to most of the times, right? That is where troubleshooting and development and architecting skills come into picture, right? And this is a sentiment we've heard from employers as well. Okay, so there's a question. I'm not sure if the name is being displayed here. Which certifications are essential as far as current market situation is concerned? Right, it quickly depends upon what technology you want to be a part of, or what technology ecosystem you want to be a part of. If you're a Windows guy, you should definitely do Microsoft Azure. If you're part of the AWS ecosystem, AWS has multiple certifications for developers, architects, SysOps, and so on. But again, going back to our original observation here, please go ahead with certifications only after you have some significant experience of working on the cloud, right? Because just certification by themselves will not get you a real transition, will not get you a real solid opportunity, right? It distinguishes you from people, but once you enter the interview room, it is your experience and your hands-on skills which will fetch you the next job. All right. So until now, we've discussed about what is cloud computing, or how's the ecosystem like, why is the market so exciting, and why should you be excited as a professional as far as cloud computing is concerned. What we'll discuss now is how can Great Learning and Great Lakes specifically help you, right, to make the most of this opportunity, and what is our philosophy, in helping you learn these very specific skills, right? So we will now talk about our postgraduate program in cloud computing offered by Great Lakes and Great Learning. This program has been there for more than a year now, right? We've had more than 300 working professionals study with us with meaningful learning outcomes, and it's a 6 month program, right? So PG program in cloud computing, it's a 6 month program for working professionals. It's a very intense and a hands-on program, right? For people who want to become cloud architects, right? Now, the idea here is not to get all of you to a point where you can apply for a job with the designation of cloud architect, but it's more of that we want all of you to at least think like cloud architects, right? You could be a practice head, you could be a director, you could be a senior developer, you could be a tech lead, module lead, you could be a QA analyst, you could be a testing analyst, you could be anybody, right? But as you grow in your career, we all understand we need to have a balanced perspective, because you become senior, you need to take decisions, right? To make those decisions right, you need to take multiple things into account. And that is what we mean, that all of you, when you're trying to become seniors in your own career, you should think like a cloud architect as far as this domain is concerned. And that's what we strive to, right? To have you have your learning outcome as. Now, the program is offered completely online, right? There are different components to it. So it's an online format with live mentor sessions that happen every week. Right? There's a tons of hands-on work that you will have to do, and that is the reason you get a lot of exposure as far as working on cloud is concerned. The program is taught by people who practice cloud, who are working in the industry, right? And the certificate that you get is from one of the top institutions of India, which is Great Lakes Institute of Management, right? So that's at the summary level what the program is. And to get you a bit more specific insight, uh, this is just the high level flow of the program, right? So these are the objectives that the program has, and these are the things that you will understand, right? So if you choose this program, what will end up happening is you will become a hands-on cloud architect, not in terms of just the designation, but in terms of who you are and how you think, with the ability to architect cloud solutions in an agnostic fashion, right, irrespective of the platform. We teach you AWS in depth, but we also give you an option to choose between Azure and Google Cloud. You will also have to learn and work with containers, microservices, DevOps, cloud design patterns, and OpenStack for private cloud. You will also get to understand cloud financials, because it's really important that we understand economics and numbers, because again, the bosses will come running and ask you, hey, this project looks cool. How much are we investing in it, right? So it's a very common question. So we definitely need to understand cloud financials, and because cloud migration is a very specific skill, you need to understand how to adopt cloud for a new project, or how to migrate things to the cloud, right? There are typical case studies and statistics and techniques that you need to kind of be aware of at least. So you also will get a chance to understand big data and architectural styles, so that when you have a conversation with the customer, you can offer more than one solution, right? Because I'm sure most of the customers like options and choices. And for the developers amongst you who would like to get an understanding of how to build cloud native applications, we have an exclusive developer track, which you can pick up once you complete the PG program in cloud computing. And there are certain extra requirements that you can complete and get an additional certificate, right, for developer track. It's absolutely free of cost, apart from the program fee. Just a quick highlight of people who you will interact with. This is just a representation. There are a lot more mentors in our pool, right? I am one of the mentors, and like I said, once you join the program, you will interact with quite a number of people as part of different courses, right? So Mr. Nirmalya Mukherjee is our academic director, and there are many more mentors that will be part of the program as and when you start learning. Okay, so I think there's a question. Okay, so I don't see any questions here. I see a hand raised, Uday Kumar. Uday, can you type in your question in the question window? Okay, so no question here. All right, we'll move on. So should you decide to join this particular program, just to give you an idea, this is the class representation that you have typically as part of any batch of PGP in cloud computing, right? There are people from various domains, consulting, manufacturing, others, well, of course, telecom, BFSI, IT consulting, and so on. And the average experience that people have is nearly 11 years as part of the class, and they come from different educational backgrounds as well. Uh, so it's a solid opportunity for all of you to be a part of an experienced and diverse peer learning group while you're trying to upskill as a cloud professional. Um, what will you be evaluated in the program if you kind of join the program? It's all hands-on work. Mohinder, we assist in placements. Yes, we do not give placements because that is something only the companies can give. But yes, we definitely assist you through different initiatives, right? I was coming to that. Yes, yes. Because we will all understand that for working professionals, you really can't have a placement guarantee because transitions and job opportunities happen differently, but we do provide a lot of assistance. Yes. We'll come to the slide. Yes. So this is just one example of one of our learners who did the program project, and he liked the project so much that he went ahead and deployed the same solution in a production environment in his organization, right? So this is one of our projects that we do as part of the PGP in cloud computing, and he was really happy to do it. So that's the relevance of the hands-on work that you do as far as real life impact is concerned, right? So you should definitely be excited about it. Another icing on the cake, another set of benefits for you as far as learning is concerned. We recently partnered with AWS Educate, and this program, AWS specialization, all the stuff that you learn from AWS is powered by Educate program, right? So you get a lot of benefits, and as part of the benefit, you also get a lot of online badges, learning pathways, more than 20 of them. And most importantly, you get access to the job board, from AWS Educate as part of the program. It has jobs from all across the world, not just in India, and for all different levels. And you will be in a position to apply for all of the relevant ones. You'll have access to this for 1 year. Yeah. So let me take a moment and now discuss about our two new offerings. So for professionals who are unable to commit 6 months in order to become a cloud architect, and who also do not want to go into a lot of depth about cloud, who just want to kind of understand in a hands-on fashion what cloud is for their business purposes, or just want to get started. First, we launched two new programs, which is Cloud Engineer Certificate Program, which is now being rebranded as Certificate Program in Cloud Computing, and DevOps Engineer Certificate Program. Both of these offerings are 3 months, and their details are available on the website again. Now, for career support, these are just a few things that we do. We offer you a one-to-one career mentorship. If you show interest in availing one, we do hackathons. We have job boards, like I mentioned, the AWS Educate job board. We do career fairs, and as far as cloud computing is concerned, we are also in the process of trying to have companies which can kind of do interviews for our cloud professionals, right? So please visit this website in your free time, and you'll find a lot of details about the efforts that we take as far as career support is concerned. Yes. Okay. Mohinder. Okay, so I am not sure what you mean by live cloud servers, but essentially, I think what you're asking about is the lab account, right? Will you work in a live cloud setup? Is that the question, Mohinder? Yes, yes, absolutely. So you get an AWS account to work for, right? For Microsoft Azure and for Google, we use the free accounts given by Google and Microsoft because they give you a lot of credit, which is more than sufficient as far as the labs and projects are concerned, right? So Azure gives you about $200, Google gives you about $300, right? So we use that benefit, and for AWS, we'll give you an account, right, which offers you X number of dollars, and which are more than enough for your projects and labs, right? And these are actually cloud accounts, of course. Does that help you, Mohinder? Okay, so these are not free accounts. Oh, okay, no, no. First of all, I think there is some confusion here. If you create an Azure account, if you create a Google account, nothing is disabled, by the way, Mohinder. I hope if you create an AWS account, in that nothing is disabled. But the AWS account that we give, a few things are disabled there, obviously for the sake of sanity and account preservation, because otherwise people will be able to do anything. But we also have an option there, which I'll be happy to talk, maybe one on one. But those options are really something that we need to disable, right? As far as account prevention is concerned. Otherwise, cloud, you can pretty much do everything. And we've had cases in the past where people have kind of tried to exploit the full privileges that we've given. So it's the purpose for the purpose of sanity, right? And it's part of all enterprise setups. Yes, but those are options are very selective. It's like a drop in the ocean. Mohinder, does that help you? Yes, that we will have to check, Mohinder. Skill sets is something that is very specific, and I'm sure it must be part of the free account. But there's nothing called as a trial account. The account that you create for Azure is something that is for yourself, and you can use pretty much $200 for whatever you need, right? And because we do specific exercises, we've kind of tested it, what works and what doesn't. And as far as learning is concerned, all those things will work in the Azure account that all of you will create. As far as at least GCP and Azure is concerned, as far as AWS is concerned, we'll give you an account. And again, all the labs and projects that we offer you pretty much cover a lot of services. Um, yes. Okay. Ujjwal, can someone who is not in India join this program? Of course, Ujjwal, this is an online program completely. So the location is really not important. What you will have to consider is the time zone that you are part of. And when you're applying for the program, since you will get call from the admissions team, if your application is shortlisted, you can discuss the time zone details with them, right? But you can certainly join it from anywhere. Yes, yes. Because if people are not clear about their priorities and time zone, they'll have issues later after the admission, right? We've had such instances earlier, and that is why we strongly recommend that you have clarity on, your priorities, and based on when you would like to study, you join the program. Ujjwal, I hope that clarifies your question. Okay, great, great, wonderful. So I guess because of the selective number of questions, we've finished kind of early, and right. So these are the numbers you can reach out to if you have any further questions. And what we can do is, since we have some time left, I'll wait here and see if you have any other questions. Okay, so I see hands raised by Trupti and Uday Kumar. Do you guys have questions? Uh, Ujjwal, right, great question. We start every month, Ujjwal. So there's a batch which starts every month. So you can join in a month of choice. Yep. Frequency is every month. Yeah. It's a monthly start. Sure. Yep. All right. So since I do not see any more questions, and probably if you guys want to think about and get back to us with your queries, just make sure that you write to us on the email ID and or reach out to the number that's part of the screen. Okay, I see a question. All right. Okay, my question is, what would difference of portion that would be covered in DevOps admin part for being developer side? Prashant, would you want to simplify that question? From what I understand, you're asking about the scope of DevOps that will be covered, right? Is there anything specific you would want to know? Prashant, can you hear me? Okay, in DevOps, what? So, is there any specific part of DevOps that you would want to understand? So, as far as PGPCC is concerned, we do DevOps on cloud using AWS services, right? So, things like code commit, code build, code pipeline, code star, all of that, right? So, we do DevOps on AWS. Yes, admin has a lot more things apart from DevOps, but if you ask specifically about DevOps, we're doing cloud native DevOps as part of PGPCC. But if your agenda and priority is to learn DevOps off premises also, things like Jenkins and all of that, I recommend that you take a look at our DevOps program. That's a different program, right? It's a 3 months program. So in that curriculum, you will have entire DevOps thing to learn from. Prashant, okay, okay. If there's anything specific that you would want to ask, just let me know. But yeah, we have a separate program for people who only want to learn DevOps end to end. That's the DevOps engineer program, and that's 6 months, 3 months. PGP in cloud computing is 6 months. Okay. So, all right, guys, I really appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in. And I wish each one of you all the best in your careers. And we sincerely hope that you will reach out to us in case if you have any questions. And I wish you a good day and a good year ahead. Right? Thank you very much for joining in.